that I need to pause, but I'm just going to plow forward. So welcome everybody. So this, we're going to hold these Zoom calls every other Thursday to keep the momentum moving forward on this project that we have going on. And I'm going to give a little background in a moment, but it's really an opportunity to listen, to learn, to connect. We have people who are from the healthcare and human services industry. I think of you as my people. And then we have people from the entrepreneurial world, which I think of as Nigel's and Jacqueline's people. But we're all, I think, have some sort of interest or commitment to making change in this on this issue. We're going to meet every other Thursday, and it's going to be a mix of presentations, some more collaborative kind of conversations. And then we also are going to be bringing in outside guest speakers, which Jacqueline's going to talk about later in the presentation. So today's call, I want to talk a little bit about open innovation and what inspired this work. We're going to give an overview of our experience at the Innovation Summit. So Nigel and Jacqueline and I presented at the summit a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to share our takeaway, our how that went. And a part of that is our takeaways that came out of our January event. So many of you online were involved in the work session in January. Some of you were involved in the work session in October. And again, I know some of you are new. So I'm hoping this will give you enough background so that you can jump in to this project. And we're also going to share a preview of things to come, how we're going to move forward. And our intent is to get something up, moving and off the ground in the next couple of months. So it's a big push, but we really need input and help from all of you to make this a thoughtful process. So I want to start out talking a little bit about how we got to today. So I came at this looking at the workforce, and specifically workforce, people providing assistance to people with disabilities and people who are aging in their homes and in the community. And it's been a struggle for a number of years finding qualified, good people to enter into that field. And it's just gotten much worse in the last few years because people are getting older and needing more care. The aging population is growing fast. And so I went to the Innovation Summit last year and introduced to this whole world of startups and entrepreneurs, and they're creative, outside the box thinking, and just felt like there could be some positive impact on this wicked problem. And that's open innovation. It's really getting a bunch of different stakeholders together who have different perspectives, working together on community problems and using some of the tools that startups and entrepreneurs use. So in Alaska, the timing, I feel like on this has been just perfect, because the last 18 months or so, there's been a lot of open innovation work happening in Alaska. And this is a trend worldwide where there's different opportunities in the community and you bring entrepreneurs into it. And these are just some of the things that have been going on in Alaska that are parallel to what we're trying to do in health and human services. There's an ocean economy, several things in ocean economy development. There's been things around renewable energy and work on that. The Innovation Dash actually brought together people from all sorts of different, with community issues, from recycling and environmental work to more kind of community access issues. And then there's been startup weekends across the state, and Seeds of Change was a project involving a social service provider in Anchorage. Some of this has been because we in Alaska have had Nigel Sharp move in and have the focus of really looking at the startup community. And then there's been other, I know the UAA Business Enterprise Institute that Jacqueline and Nigel are both a part of, have done a lot of work in this open innovation. So those are our big partners. So that brings me to the Innovation Summit, happened in Juneau. And it's an economic development summit, so it brings people from investing and entrepreneurs, people with startups that are going on together to learn and share. And we had 2 presentations at the Innovation Summit. Jacqueline, and that's a picture of her in action, gave an innovation short. So part of the summit is that people with different projects have 10 minutes to present. And so it was perfect. Jacqueline, on the first day of the summit, laid out the history of this social entrepreneurship work that's been going on in Alaska. And it was kind of like a teaser to our, what was called a deep dive session the next day. And then our deep dive session was called Under Construction, a new accelerator for Alaska. There's some photos from our presentation. And we started off the deep dive session talking about what an accelerator is. And I want to share this because there are people who are calling in who have not been part of this conversation today. This is what we're building. We are building after a work session in October, after January's work session. It looks like the best avenue for doing what we want to do is around healthcare, which I'll talk more specifically in a minute, is to create an accelerator. An accelerator, it's a program, usually with a set time frame, can be anywhere from a month to 6 months long. I think it varies greatly. And it provides an entrepreneur or a startup business person with a link to potential customers. So somebody has a good idea about perhaps, we'll take Uber, for example, and they can see how they might be able to do something differently than our traditional taxi services. And they've figured out an app that they want to launch, but they have to find a way to get it out, to get it to customers. So our accelerator, we're trying to attract creative, business-minded people. And our customers are going to be people like the Arc of Anchorage, who I know Lisa's on from the Arc of Anchorage, or Hope Community Resources, like Ali is on, who are providing services to people, have a workforce and all the inherent challenges that go along with that, and are open to testing out some innovative ideas to make things run better. Opportunities, as I just said, to test out the innovation, mentors, business advice, how to make it a viable business plan, and then some initial funding to get things rolling. So that's basically an accelerator. It causes things to happen or develop more quickly. So we want innovation to happen in our health and human service system more quickly than it would naturally. We think that there's opportunity to do that. So the wicked problem we're focused on is direct support workforce. At the Innovation Summit, we probably had 30 people at our session. And we asked the question, how many people in the room have a connection to a person with a disability or someone who's aging who needs assistance in their home or in the community? And nearly everybody in the room raised their hand. And I would, what we said is, if you don't need it now, as you age, you may need it. I just was talking to a care coordinator from our industry this morning about some senior services, and she said, my advice is don't get old and need care at this point because the system is really not meeting the needs. So that's the wicked problem we're talking about with this particular thing. Cindy Middlestat is sitting in the middle there, and she attended our January event. And she attended because she's an entrepreneur connected with Nigel and Jacqueline, working for Bristol Bay Native Association, but she shared her personal story, which Trisha is really her inspiration, and that's her daughter there. And this is Trisha with her direct support staff. So Trisha and Cindy, their family really rely on people assisting Trisha every day to continue to live in their family home and to be part of their family and to get to work and to be part of the community. And she shared how important that support is and how challenging it is when that support is not available. So that kicked off our session with a very meaningful way, and Cindy, we really appreciated that. So we talked about, gave some background. So in October, we held a 2-day event, and at that event, we broke our wicked problem into pain points, really made specific descriptions of the pain points. And I'm not going to go into it now, but if anyone who doesn't have that report would like it, we have that report available. Then we talked about our second event, which occurred in January, and that was to pulled together, had more of an entrepreneurial focus, I would say, and was really talking about what's the program going to look like that we want to launch. I'm going to play a short video. It's 2 minutes long, so I think we have time. That gives you a feel for what that event was like. So you can see lots of smiles, lots of fun, but also lots of work that got done. And you saw at the end of that video that people were sharing on these big posters these prototypes that we developed. That is an entrepreneurial approach. It's called rapid low fidelity prototyping. And it's really taking the ideas that the goal that we have and really coming up in a quick way with some rough ideas of what things might look like. So this is some of the outcomes of that. Just taking a step back real quick, at the beginning of that video, you also saw Tom Bass. He runs a healthcare accelerator in Colorado. So he came and shared with us the importance of service providers, learning how to speak the language of entrepreneurs and being ready to be a good test bed, and also talked about how to market to entrepreneurs and what the value proposition is. So the 4 groups came up with 4 ideas. There was Bootstrap Alaska, and that's Kevin Croy there, who also participated in the Innovation Summit. And theirs was really a Kickstarter model where funders would vote on good ideas with dollars on a website. And here we have Chip from ANTHC, and Cody Chip from ANTHC. Their group created an online website where service providers can submit their challenges and then innovators can review and respond. And then, let's see. This is Accelerate Alaska. That was my group. And there's Ollie presenting there. And we talked about having events like hackathons that would bring service providers and entrepreneurs together. Then that could move forward with some ideas. And then here's High Tide DSP. There's Cindy there and Amanda Faulkner from Frontier Community Services. And they also focused on events, but they did a lot of talking about what's the advantage to Alaska in particular. And they even used fun Alaskan terms like instead of Shark Tank, they came up with Salmon Tank and Row Tank. So there were some common threads with this that came out of all 4 of those that we're building on as we move forward. What we really need clearly is a bridge between startups, innovative, creative entrepreneur types, and the service system. And I say service providers, but I also think that there are systems that there's a bridge and value in. Systems like the Division of Behavioral Health, the Division of Senior and Disability Services, that could benefit from some innovative systems change. So there needs to be the bridge so that we can share information with each other. Probably through some online platform or an event like a pitch-a-thon. There's a big marketing piece. How do we attract people? And there may be people within Alaska that have those ideas, but there's also a lot going on outside of Alaska. And so how do we market to those innovative people and bring them into our system? I will say at the Innovation Summit, one of the things that really kind of gave me goosebumps is being in a room with 30 people many people who had not been engaged in human services, at least professionally before, brainstorming workforce. And it was just seeing other people engaged and talking about this was really powerful. Another common thread with those prototypes were they all contained some competition element. So what we're doing is we're taking this forward. The other thing that we shared that information at the Innovation Summit, and then Nigel facilitated about a 45-minute interactive activity. And you can see in the pictures, tofu, mofu, bofu. And that was the activity that we had people engage in at the summit. And here is a graphic. It's a funnel. So tofu, mofu, bofu, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. It's a marketing brainstorming approach. And the top of the funnel is very global. How do we just get the word out? Middle of the funnel starts to really fine-tune our target population. And then the bottom of the funnel is the conversion. It's like, okay, sign on the dotted line. Let's get some entrepreneurs signed up to be involved. So there were small groups, 3 small groups brainstorming, and we captured all of this. This is just a snapshot of what was produced that day, but we are going to use this information to create a marketing plan as we move ahead in creating this accelerator. And they work together. So you start over on the left, tofu. So like for something with social media ads. So, you just blast social media, health tie, get the word out about the wicked problem. And then if you move to the middle of the funnel, you could, go down to like a podcast series. Well, maybe you market your podcast series through your social media ads. And then bofu is where you're actually maybe flying in people to Alaska. You can see program funds visits in July when the salmon is running and there's beautiful hiking and people fall in love with Alaska and some brilliant person from Silicon Valley relocates to fix our wicked problem. That's kind of the idea. So we're going to use those as we move forward. Our impact so far, we want to track how we're growing. So every Thursday Zoom call, we want to keep these numbers going. So right now we have 84 people on our email. And that has come through presentations we've done or people that we've just reached out to. We've done 3 formal presentations to date and 3 webinars. There's a lot of interest. Eric Boyer, who's on right now, and I met with Senator Costello yesterday. She was a speaker at the Innovation Summit. And she followed us out of her, she had another person meeting, but she literally followed us out of her office. She didn't want to stop talking about the opportunities that were available through Health Tie. So everyone we've talked to is just really invigorated by this. So now I'm going to briefly talk about next steps, and that will give us about 5 minutes if there's questions or anybody wants to add anything. So our next call is 2 weeks from now. Again, every other call, we're hoping to have a guest speaker on. Jacqueline Summers is actually going to be, her role is going to be outreach. And Jacqueline, do you want to share what your thoughts are and who you're hoping to pull in?
Sure, of course. Thank you very much, Kim. You've done a wonderful job of summarizing what's brought us so far and then talking about our path forward. So through contacts that we have, Nigel and I have started a list of potential speakers. And we've had somebody who's, we've reached out to Helen Adelson. She has a program called Care Academy, which is actually a digital app that trains healthcare workers. It's exactly the type of entrepreneur that we're hoping to attract. I'm hoping that she'll present in the next couple of weeks. Still finalizing that. I've also got some other calls scheduled and potential presenters lined up. What I'd like to encourage each of you to do is think about how you could use this platform to maybe talk about the health tie needs that you see happening. So maybe amongst your notes today, you'll find a way to do a presentation in the future about how an entrepreneur you know might want to reach out to community members and test their idea. So lots to come, but what I encourage you all to do is just raise your contacts in your phones and think about who might help us move Health Tie down the road.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And I would just add, what we're doing in the meantime, and when I say we, it's myself, Jacqueline, and Nigel, along with Eric Boyer from the Trust, and potentially some other foundations that may get involved. But we're moving forward on a business design. And we look forward to presenting pieces of that and getting feedback to you during these calls. And our goal is to have that a business plan or proposal somewhat laid out, hopefully by June 1st, if not earlier. We also are really excited. Keith McCormick is a UAA student who is going to be doing his practicum with Health Tie. So he's going to be helping us with some research and coordination. So those are the next steps that are coming up. I think that we do currently have some supporters that are, that have given money so far in supporting like Nigel and Jacqueline's time to be a part of the SEMI time. And then if you have any questions, you please reach out, or thoughts, please reach out to us. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now so I can see better. And if there's we do, which is just right on, we have 4 or 5 minutes, if anybody would like to jump on. And it looks like we even have Nigel from the Seattle airport with us. So Nigel, I don't know if you want to share any thoughts.
Well, thanks, Kim. I think you did a great presentation, so I won't dig into too much of that. One thing I would add, though, is that another success, I think, is we've also got Santiago Gio, who's one of the AmeriCorps visitors, engaging with our team right now. So with Keith coming on board and Santiago, they're going to be working out of the BEI office with myself and Jacqueline. So we're getting quite a band of folks together. And if anybody else wants to come in and dedicate a little bit of time to work on bits of this project, I'm more than happy to sort of help facilitate both the space and making the Business Enterprise Institute's office a little bit of a Health Tie incubation pad right now as we try and get this program really up and running and going. And I've got plenty of sheets of whiteboard paper and Post-its, as many of you know, so feel free to stop by and we can try and schedule a time to all be together. At the moment, we're going to be spending a lot of time on Fridays. It's the way it's currently scheduled. And if you do manage to be able to carve out a bit of time on your Fridays and want to stop by and work with us, let me know, and I'll be happy to facilitate that.
Thanks. Any other thoughts or questions? We have a couple of minutes. I haven't been following the chat, so I don't know. Eric, I see you just unmuted.
Yeah. I just wanted to echo what Kim said about, thinking about and who you know and contacts. Because I happen to be down with the Trust in Juneau, thinking about the interaction she had with Senator Costello and how we could meet and talk about this. And you just never know. You get in there and find somebody who's really knows the vernacular, is really excited about what we're doing and wants to get on board. And I think a lot of those different elements, if somebody can jump in there, they can provide full piece. Maybe not right today, but at some stage down the road. So keep those open and go for it.
Yeah. Anything else that anyone wants to add?
If I may, Kim, I'd like to add a couple of operational things just for the group.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we need to get a bit more organized as far as maybe having a website that everyone can point to. And we know that we probably need to get an email address set up and some bits and pieces. So I appreciate the fact that we need to get some of that done to help some of you, be able to promote and push this out there. So we're working on that, but again, looking for more folks to, again, join us on those Friday sessions where we're working through and trying to design this plan, whilst also building out some of the marketing elements to this. And I'm not sure that we can understand just how important it is to actually market out this program, because we don't know where those supporters are until we start telling people about it. And it has been surprising to me personally to see that each time we've met a room and bumped into some folks that there's a lot of folks who are very deeply passionate about this particular challenge set. And all right, I'll jump off. Got a whole crowd right around me.
Well, that brings us to 1:30, and I want to honor. We just want to keep these quick, but as Nigel says, send names and contact. Let me read that chat. Names and contact information of people who might be able to share a presentation. Oh, that's from Jacqueline. Thank you all for being here today, and I hope you join us in 2 weeks for our first guest speaker presentation, and let us know if you have any recommendations or thoughts. And that's it. Thanks for calling in.